Well, greetings. I am Dr. Paulina Van, and I am the author of Regala Healing, an evocative approach for self-care, self-understanding, and inner healing. I have the honor of hosting this show, The Poetry of Healing, and I welcome you from all around the world. We'd love to know where you're joining from, so please put it in the chat if you don't mind. In the United States, the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. World Mental Health Day is acknowledged every October the 10th, and activities are held to raise awareness of mental health issues and stigma around the world, and to mobilize efforts in support of mental health. We hope today's show will serve to promote a greater awareness and understanding of emotional intelligence. Our special guest, and I know I call every guest special, but today we really have a phenomenal guest, and he is DB Bedford. I invited him because he is a local, very sought after expert on emotional intelligence. And more importantly, he speaks about it in a way that is motivating, clear, and, plain just real. He will join us later in the program. So I ask you join me and embrace the goals for this session, including increasing awareness of the impact of emotions, both yours and others, increase understanding of emotional intelligence, learn practical ways to use it when you need it most. We'll end with a meditation to help you increase your emotional intelligence, or at least use of it. Emotional intelligence is a key driver and predictor of job performance, effectiveness in leadership and in your life. And, it impacts our overall well-being. So those of you who have been with me and those of you joining today, we always begin with a centering exercise, and I invite you to participate, and it'll help us to focus and collect our energy for this time together. A time for you, definitely a gift for yourself. So this morning, we're simply going to use our breath and a soothing gesture to guide us to relax and focus for this session. First, I'll show you some options for a soothing gesture, and then we'll do the centering. And it'll take about a minute and a half or two. So let me show you some options. I'm going to move back a little bit. And so the first one, let me get rid of this banner. Let me try to get rid of that. Okay, so you guys know I'm directing my own show now. Can't get rid of it right now. It's okay. So first, you can put your hand over your left side of your right hand over your heart on the left-hand side, just playing against your chest so you can feel the breathing. Or you can make a fist, put it here, and then put your hand over. That's a little stronger, but you can still feel yourself breathing. So that's number 2. Number 3 is you can put your right hand over your heart, left chest, and then a hand on your belly, okay? All these are designed for you to make contact and feel your breathing, okay? And lastly, you can just cup your face like this, okay? All right, so whichever one works for you. So I invite you to lower your gaze, or preferably close your eyes. And I'd like you to take a deep breath through your nose slowly on the count of 4, and then breathe out on a count of 4. You can breathe out through your nose, preferably, or through your mouth if it's more comfortable. Again, take a deep breath in through your nose slowly, a count of 4, and hold it, and then breathe out slowly to a count of 4. I'm going to ask you to take one more deep breath, and I'm going to count to give you the pacing. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, breathing in. And then breathe out 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yes. So take one more deep breath in. Deep breath to notice that you are here, and breathe out. Take another deep breath in to notice how your beautiful body feels. And now take one last deep breath in and enter this session. For those of you who are just joining us, I am Dr. Paulina Van, author of Regala Healing, an evocative approach for self-care, self-understanding, and inner healing, and the host of this show, The Poetry of Healing. Today's show is all about emotional intelligence and how it helps us to express our emotions, develop and maintain relationships, cope with challenges, and make effective decisions. You are just in time to meet our guests. And I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. DB Bedford. Hi, DB. I got you on the screen.
Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Oh yes, happy Sunday to you too. I'm so happy you're here. I am just thrilled that you were here. And I usually give a little intro and backdrop to the topic, but this morning I'm skipping all that because I want to get straight to our discussion.
Let's do it.
First, I'd like the audience. I want you to be, yeah, that's the way I want you to be. Yeah. Okay. So DB, I'm directing my own show now. So
you're doing a good job. You handling
okay.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So DB, please tell us as much as you want about your personal background and then how you got into mental health and emotional intelligence. And then we're going to talk about, we're going to have our discussion.
Okay. So thanks again for having me on the show this morning. And, my journey is a very intriguing journey. It really started growing up in the streets of Oakland and being in a space in life where I was not emotionally intelligent at all. Growing up in a time, being in the streets, we didn't practice EI at all. We were actually doing the opposite. We actually, believed that all conflict or disagreements needed to be handled right in a very violent or inappropriate way. And so my journey comes from not being very good at it for a very long time. And then it came to a point where I was able to turn my life around. And when I got a new opportunity to be a better version of myself, I redirected that energy into positivity and became committed to guiding other people and in a direction that they didn't have to make as many mistakes that I had did myself or the stuff that I had seen. And so I started working at the probation department. First, I worked for a nonprofit, and then I worked for the probation department. And my first assignment was to the brand new open mental health unit within the facility. So I got a firsthand look on how important mental health is in our community, what happens when it doesn't get addressed, the patience, the understanding, and the direction you need to, you need to be able to leverage for those that are experiencing that. And then, within that realm of my career, it came to a point where I was introduced to emotional intelligence. When I first heard the terminology, um, I was very curious because I had never heard it before, and so I started doing some research, and I started asking people, everybody I knew, that have they heard of emotional intelligence, and nobody had heard of it. And from a cultural standpoint, or Black folks, right? I'm like, we we as emotional as they come, right? So I'm like, why isn't nobody talking about this?
Mm-hmm.
Then I did a deep research, some more research at the time, and there was no one of color
Mm-hmm.
representing it as well. And so it just got baked into my spirit that I needed to become a thought leader in this space. And the rest is history.
Well, you know what, DB, thank you, first of all, for sharing your personal story. So, you don't know I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to leave it to you to answer, but it would
I'm
be
here
wonderful.
for it all. I'm
I,
here for it all.
you're here for it. Can you give us an example of before you became more emotionally intelligent,
Okay.
a behavior that you had or displayed once, twice, many times, because it'll help the audience connect with you. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Story time.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an incident, the one that actually changed my life. And
Mm-hmm.
so to put it into context, right? I grew up in Oakland in an area called Brookfield. And when the crack era hit, I was part of some of the first group to participate in that selling drugs, right? So I come
Mm-hmm.
into the drug game about 86, 87, and
Mm-hmm.
I went to jail between the ages of 13 and 23 for selling drugs, violent related offenses, you name it, I was a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
There came a time when I was in my early 20s where I had paid someone to do some service on a house I had bought at a young age. And the guy didn't really finish the job. I paid him to do the roof on my house, and he didn't really finish the job like he said he was. The roof was actually completed, and this is going to be important. The roof was done, but he didn't finish like the gutters might have been needed to be tightened up, and he hadn't cleaned up the debris yet. But every time I thought about it and I realized it wasn't done, it would make me upset. So when I would see him in the neighborhood, I'd be like, man, when you gonna get over there and finish up? And he would tell me he'd be over there. Let's just say I seen him today. He'd be like, oh man, I'll be over there on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wednesday comes and goes, he doesn't show up. Now, to put it into context too, at the time I'm hustling in the streets. So I'm kind of staying up all night, sleeping all day. So I'm not looking at this every day. It's just random moments where I'll be like, man, this guy never came through, right? So then I get mad again. And then I'd
Mm-hmm.
see him. I'd be like, man, when you gonna get that taken care of? So after a couple of times of him not doing it, and I want to make this clear that every time I gave him a pass, like we call it, I let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it made me more angrier that he didn't take advantage of that, because in this phase of my life, I had kind of did way more to people for less.
Mm-hmm.
And so the final time when he did not do what he said he was going to do, I had told myself when I seen him again, it's on. And I always tell people, be careful what you tell yourself, because you
Mm-hmm.
mess around to commit to it. And so I seen him, and you know, I was coming to the street on 98th and at Ease, and I seen him going into the store, and I pulled up on him. I jumped out, and I got on his helmet, right? So we get, I'm on him, and we are fighting and hitting him with stuff or whatever. And then the fight turned really bad, and I end up pulling out my gun and chasing him down the street and trying to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I share that in transparency. I mean, it's public record. I went to jail for it. But you ask me a moment, right, where I was not practicing emotional intelligence. That is a moment right there, because I was willing to take his life, ruin my own life, and over what? I knew the type of person I was dealing with when I hired him for the job,
Mm-hmm.
right? There were things I could have done once he demonstrated that he wasn't going to complete the job. But where I had come from in the belief system I had at the time, I perceived him not carrying out his task as disrespect. And
Mm-hmm.
where I come from, if I feel disrespected at that time in my life, there was only one other option. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's also where I learned a very valuable lesson that when emotions are high, logic tends to be low. Because when I was sitting in the county jail, all of a sudden I realized I didn't have to do that. And I know that that sounds like the obvious, But I promise you, in the moment when I seen him, I feel like that was the only thing I had to do. And so I
Mm.
always ask people, when you're in emotional state, be careful of the decisions that you make, because when the emotions comes down and the logic rises back up, you might reflect upon what you've done and realize that there were other options. And so that's why part of my leadership is to remind people that it's like a formula. When emotions are high, logic tends to be low. And so we practice being mindful of when things are emotionally charged. So that's one of many. But the fact that I was willing to risk, taking someone's life and my own life, in terms of being in jail for the rest of my life over a small decision, made me realize how important it is to be able to manage our emotions in very critical times.
Well, DB, first of all, I almost I I started tearing up because of the emotions I was feeling as you were telling your story. And first of all, I want to thank you so much for being so transparent. And I'm hoping that um, anyone live or who will view this show will take something, just even a teeny bit away from how important it is to manage our emotions. And so, can you just talk about what is emotional intelligence?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to share. So, for me, emotional intelligence, in the core of it, is having the ability to never let your emotions overpower your intelligence. It's going to require a level of self awareness. You're going to have the ability to manage how you react to things that catch you off guard, that are unexpected, that you don't appreciate, that you don't like. You have to be able to manage that. You have to understand situational awareness, right? What to engage in, what to give some space to, what to respond to, what not to respond to. And then be very intentional about the relationships that you have around you and managing them appropriately. And so
Mhm.
emotional intelligence to me, it's not about kind of living a warm and fuzzy lifestyle. It's more about being very intentional and skillful at processing, right? The things that come your way that don't make you feel good, that you don't like, that you want to be aggressive towards, or that you want to have an attitude towards, but process them in a way and be connected to this idea that you are responsible for how you act, no matter how you feel.
Absolutely. And I just want to emphasize something you said. These emotions and not feeling good, it's not when it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And most
Yeah,
likely, or even it's happened before the show, you tuned
yeah,
into the show, and it's going to happen after you tune
yeah.
out. So thank you. Thank you, DB. So let's talk about, what does a person with high emotional intelligence, how do they act? How do we know that someone has high emotional intelligence?
That's a good question. If
Mhm.
you're observing people in your life and you want to kind of see who may be practicing more than not, it's the person who has the ability basically to remain calm under pressure. It's the person that, even though that something is bothering them, they are very good at not letting it impact others, right? A person who you don't hear complaining a lot, right? People with high level of emotional intelligence understand that there's really no value in complaining. People with high emotional intelligence like to be a beacon of light, right? They will be the person who brings the energy to the room. They never throw shade, right? They always are a beacon of light. uh, Someone who practices a high level of emotional intelligence is probably someone that you go to, right? Someone that you might look to when you are having a challenging moment. It's the person that you might go to, because there's a reason why your energy gravitates to them for what they bring. And so those are some of the things that come to mind when I think about someone who is practicing emotional intelligence on a regular basis. You never arrive, like you never are like, oh, I'm emotionally intelligent, like I graduated, because life would be like, okay, hold my beer, right? It'll
Mm. Yeah.
it'll challenge you one more time. So it's the law of intentionality would suggest, right, that growth does not just happen. Like you're going to have to be intentional about it. And so I like to add and say your emotional growth doesn't just happen. Like you have to be intentional about it. A lot of people, no matter where they are in life, economic, social, money, whatever, are not emotionally mature. And we see that because the minute something doesn't go their way or something that they don't like, we kind of see that inner child act up in them, right? And they behave in a way where you're looking at them like, did you really just say that? Like, right? Or are we actually talking about this? Or you, whenever you are shocked about somebody's behavior and it's only based on because they don't like something or don't agree with it, then you could probably come to the conclusion that they are not being intentional with practicing emotional intelligence.
Hmm. Hmm. And so you've talked about, you used your example, because I was going to ask you about characteristics of persons with low uh, emotional intelligence, but you gave the example. So I think that pretty much described it, unless there's something you want to add before you share with us, talk to us, guide us. How can we build emotional intelligence?
Well, you're going to have to work on what I like to call your internal software. Okay. And so your internal software from my leadership would suggest that we all are pretty much programmed by three things: our beliefs, our values, and our life experiences. So every day, people show up and they are engaging with you based on what they believe, what their values, and the things that they've been through. And for someone to actually start this work, they need to be honest about it. Is quite possible that you might need to update some areas of your internal software. And when you think about software in general, like on our phones or on our computers, right? There are times when we get the notification that says, "Would you like to update?" Right? And it'll ask you, it'll be like, would you like to update now or would you like to update later? Right. And what do most people probably do? They update it later, right? Because
Mhm.
they don't, like they don't have time or they want to get stuff done. But when you think about why it wants to update, because your phone or your computer wants to give you the latest version of the software. It wants to get the bugs out. It wants it to operate at its optimum performance. Well, if you are operating off an old belief system, right, in today's time, your thoughts and your actions might be a little outdated, which is why you may experience unnecessary conflict. Quick example, I mentioned, a few minutes ago, and for those who just may have joined the show, I was talking about my past and how I viewed what perceived disrespect is, right? Anything I believed was disrespectful, I believe I had to do something to you because the lifestyle I was living would suggest if I didn't do something to you, you might do something to me. And if the people around heard I didn't respond to something, they think I'm a punk or a sucker, and then they might want to do something to me. So in my teens and 20s, that was pretty much relevant. I needed that. But in my 40s and 50s, right, I don't necessarily need to respond like that. Even if I still feel disrespected, I had to update, right, my belief about disrespect and what it actually means. And so a lot of people are behaving in a way of something they picked up earlier in their life and they haven't taken the time to think it through, reimagine how that actually applies for today. And so I challenge folks that anytime in any area of your life where you struggle in relationships, finances, whatever, think about what you've learned about this, where you learned it from, and how you can kind of take a different approach, a different perspective to it. And when you do things like that, it frees you and it gives you permission to allow yourself to practice emotional intelligence, because a lot of us, a lot of people in general, have been taught different things about when something is emotional, right? You know, as a young boy, if I showed any emotion, I was always told to, you know, stop crying, shut that down. No, you know, when we get something to cry about, you know, if I'm in the neighborhood, I can't tell my homies I feel sad, right? If something's going on with me. So when, you know, especially as a black male, you have opportunity to express how you feel without somebody making fun of you or what somebody not taking you seriously. So you have to get to a point where you reimagine what you were taught about emotions and how you can leverage that for some positivity and to increase your performance in all areas of your life.
DB, I wish we had like 30 more minutes times 30 so that you could get even deeper. So that means I need to invite you back. This has been inspiring, educational, how can I say, reality based, heartfelt. It was just so wonderful to have you here. Um, is there anything else before I do a meditation to help us become more self-aware? Is there anything else that you would like our audience viewers to know that will help them on this journey?
Yeah, I would just say believe that emotional intelligence is real. Um, be open to the idea that it can improve all areas of your life. It could take a quantum leap in your life if you lead with emotional intelligence. And if you feel like you're already there, then encourage the people in your tribe to do the same. I truly believe that the world would be a better place if we all were very intentional about not letting our emotions overpower our intelligence. Because no matter how smart you are, no matter what your leadership ranking in, how much money you got, when you lose it to, you know, to for lack of a better word. And I want to say this though, and this is not about the extreme, like just always
Mhm.
going on. A lot of
Mhm.
times it shows up, it's hidden in plain sight. It's your mood, it's your attitude, but most importantly, it's the energy that you bring to any situation. So you might not be, so don't exclude yourself if you feel like you don't be fussing or you're not rude. A lot of
Mhm.
times, like because if you're not processing things, it shows up in your attitude, your mood, and your energy. So I would just encourage everyone on this beautiful Sunday. If you've never thought about this before, I would
Mhm.
just tell you take a deeper dive into it. And if you've already practiced it, let this be the day that we're validating that you're going in the right direction. And I appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience.
Well, and I love that update analogy. Okay, so we all got to remember to update. DB, it was I don't even have words to express my gratitude for you being with us this morning and or this evening, depending on where our viewers are viewing from around the world. But I hope you will take an invitation to come back
Most
because I
definitely.
know you've enriched my soul and my spirit. And I'm going to work on some of those things. Even though I think I'm all that cool and calm, there's always room for improvement. So thank you so much. Enjoy your Sunday.
You're very
And
welcome.
um, I will close with a meditation. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oops. Okay, so everyone, we're almost at the end of the show. So I just invite you to stay with me as I do a closing meditation. And this meditation is to increase your self awareness. And so I want to tell you, of course, it's a mindfulness meditation. And mindfulness is known to cultivate emotional awareness. It helps us to develop the mental ability to pause and to notice feelings and thoughts, as DB mentioned, rather than immediately reacting. Okay. and seeing our thoughts just as thoughts. We are not our thoughts, and feelings just as feelings, because we're not we're not just our feelings. It gives us a platform for choosing how we react or change our habits of reacting. Um, you and me are in charge of our feelings that may disrupt us. And rather than having our feelings control what we do, we got to manage our emotions. Mindfulness helps change the pathways in the brain to avoid that knee-jerk reaction when things don't go the way we expect or want. Yet, meditation alone will not help you gain the knowledge and the skills needed for emotional intelligence. So remember the tips that DB gave us, especially upgrading or renewing how we navigate this world. So meditation, though, will help you cultivate being aware, help you focus, help you interact with others in a constructive and a positive way. And so this meditation, of course, I love mindfulness.org, and that's where this is adapted from. And it's about labeling. So this meditation will guide you to label difficult emotions. And there's an adage that says, you name it and you tame it. So by naming the emotion, you give space so that you can deal with it. And also it brings your awareness. So I'm going to do this in about 3 minutes. It's usually, you can extend it until about 10 minutes, but we're only going to do it for about 3 minutes. And so I'm going to invite you to lower your gaze or partially close your eyes or close your eyes fully. And remember how we took breaths at the beginning. So I'm going to ask you to take slow, deep breaths as I am speaking to allow your body to relax. Okay. So you're breathing in through your nose for those of you who are just joining us. So you're breathing in through your nose for a count of 4 or 5 and holding, and breathing out through your nose or mouth for 4 or 5. Okay. So as I talk, continue to do your breathing. And now I'd like you to shift your attention to your body. And I want you to notice your posture and then feel any sensations that are occurring within your body right now. Okay. Again, notice your breathing. And you can place your hand over your heart or fist over your heart, hand, belly, if that helps, or cradle your face. And just begin breathing in and out. And when you get distracted with thoughts, just acknowledge them and then come back to your breathing. And if your mind is wandering, that's okay, because your brain was made to make thoughts. So just acknowledge and come back to your breathing. Okay. And then I'd like you to notice any emotions that are beginning to surface. Okay. So what emotions are you feeling right now? Remember to breathe in and out. So are you feeling contentment? Are you curious? Are you longing for something or someone? Perhaps there's sadness or joy, worry, sense of urgency. Are you feeling lonely? Or are you bursting with pride or feeling a loss or envy? Maybe you're having a lot of these feelings. So what I'd like you to do is try to identify the strongest feeling that you're having and give it a name quietly in the midst of your feelings. and kind of use your body as an antenna, picking up some faint signals that first lead you to become aware of your emotions that are percolating in your body. And when you have an emotion and you have a name for it, label it, and then repeat it 3 times in a gentle voice. For example, worry, worry, worry. Then breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Or perhaps it's joy, joy, joy. Then breathe in and breathe out. I'd like you to show yourself some loving kindness. And if we had more time, we could continue to do this, but on your own, or when you review this tape, try to stay with that emotion, whatever it is, and use your breath to calm it down. Okay? All right. And so I just like you to know that this loving kindness and breathing into your emotion can help you to kind of calm it down. Okay, you can take a nice deep breath and keep your gaze lowered or keep your eyes closed and just feel your breath and the relaxation it's bringing to your body, okay, and your mind. Okay, as we close this morning and this evening, I'd like you to know that I will be broadcasting a special show tomorrow because it's Black Poetry Day, and I'll be reading fan favorites. So it's going to be 9 a.m. On Monday, October the 17th, Pacific time. And if you can't watch me live, then please view the recording. And I also ask you to join me every first and third Sunday live right here, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Like and share this program if it's been helpful to you. Leave DB and I comments. We will read them and respond to you. And subscribe so that you'll know when new programming is available. You can visit my site, regalahealing.com, to learn more about my healing and self-care work and resources. And I want to thank you for joining me today. And as always, I wish you love and light until I see you the next time.